All right, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Raghav Jagannathan. Welcome to our KLST webinar featuring our client Dickinson Wright and our esteemed client and my friend Jaden Tridup, who's the senior data scientist at Dickinson Wright. Today's webinar is how Dickinson Wright basically created a generative AI-powered intranet. Once again, my name is Raghav. I'm the president and CEO of a company called KLST. We are a global software and services company based out of New Jersey. We work with around 32 AM law firms, one of them being Dickinson Wright, around 26 mid-sized firms, and around 6 general counsels of Fortune 100 companies. I also own a company called KLapper, which is a legal tech, AI-powered legal tech company focused on creating products like KLapper, which is a private AI platform that actually powers the DW Intranet. And also we have a product called NetDocShare and IMDocShare for iManage and NetDocuments customers for surfacing NetDocs and iManage content in SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and file shares. I'm going to pass the mic to Jaden, who'll do his quick intro, and we'll get started here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks all for coming. My name is Jaden Tridup. I'm the senior data scientist for Dickinson Wright. I've been with them for about 2 years, spearheading a number of AI projects, both on the business law and the practice of law side of things. My background is I have a master's in electrical engineering and recently spent a few years working in large language model research and development, developing and publishing papers on novel hallucination detection methods.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jaden. We're so fortunate and grateful that you're here to share your insights. Before we get started, we're just going to open up a quick poll, which you'll see on the screen pop up under polls. Please do feel free to kind of give us a little bit of insight around what your firm is doing from a generative AI perspective, especially when it comes to your firm intranet built on SharePoint Online. It'll help us kind of tailor this presentation a little bit better, as well as answer your questions right towards the end of the webinar. Before we get started, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of background about this product KLapper that actually powers the Dickinson Wright Intranet from a intelligent search perspective, and in general, we'll talk a lot about that. But the product itself is a private AI platform. It's actually a platform that deploys inside your firms, basically part of your Microsoft 365 Azure infrastructure. So it's a private platform that basically not only stores its RAG is also private, but also the model that it uses, which is Azure OpenAI or Azure Cloud Opus, is also private. So which means that the model, the data, everything lives securely within your tenant. Literally no content at any point that you train KLapper with would ever leave your tenant. KLapper also has a number of different intelligent connectors that can connect to many different sources, from your traditional database applications like SQL Server, or even advanced data lakehouse applications like Fabric, or DMS platforms like iManage, NetDocs, or even SharePoint. The ability to kind of learn from all those different connections and data sources and really surface a very powerful, intelligent agent that you can surface anywhere where attorneys work, from Microsoft Teams to SharePoint, which is all about today's webinar. How you can surface an agent within SharePoint search bar as a chatbot. We'll look at, Jaden will walk us through that in a second. But also within Microsoft Teams, within iManage, within the Work Web platform, within Microsoft Word, within Microsoft Outlook. The idea here is that you build your agent once with this private AI platform, trained and seeded in your data set, and basically surface that intelligence anywhere where work happens. So we are super excited to now pass over to Jaden, who's going to walk us through how the DW Intranet leverages this platform. Go ahead, Jaden.
Thank you, Raghav. Let's start off with a quote from Michael Kolb, our Chief Operations Officer. He's been a really big fan and proponent of working with KLST. I really enjoyed all the changes that they've rolled out to our intranet. It says, our AI-powered intranet delivers measurable operational improvements by centralizing access to all firm tools, institutional knowledge in a single platform, enabling our teams to operate more efficiently. This unified approach ensures consistent access to resources across all offices and practice groups. By putting powerful AI capabilities powered by KLapper at everyone's fingertips, we're driving productivity gains that directly impact our bottom line while improving the day-to-day experience for our entire workforce. So now we're going to start talking about the thoughts and processes behind this whole integration. So in order to modernize, we needed to give ourselves a harsh reality check regarding our legacy system. Our old DW connection was not failing because people did not want an intranet. It was failing because the underlying experience did not match how the firm works today. The platform itself was limiting. On-premises SharePoint with classic pages meant the experience was effectively desktop only. If you're on a phone or smaller screen, reading content or completing basic tasks was frustrating, which reduced usage and pushed people back to emailing or calling for answers. The experience felt fragmented. Navigation patterns and branding were inconsistent, so users had to relearn the intranet depending on where they landed. That creates hesitation and it increases the time it takes to complete routine actions. This creates a trust and predictability problem. When different areas look and behave differently, users hesitate. They second guess whether they are in the right place and whether the information is current. The result is a fallback to email threads and phone calls, which means knowledge becomes harder to reuse and harder to govern. We also ran into a knowledge problem that is common in large firms. Attorneys were dealing with information overload. Even when the data existed somewhere, it took too long to locate the right piece and confirm it was the right version. What we heard consistently was not that we need more content. It was, I cannot get to the right answer fast enough, especially when I'm not at my desk. That matters because legal work is mobile in practice. People are in court, traveling, or moving between meetings. If the internet experience breaks on a phone, the internet stops being part of the workflow. Finally, the pain point that made it really clear was expertise discovery. The firm already has the talent. The issue was that locating the right person with the right niche skills could take more effort than it should. That is not just an inconvenience, it's staffing, it slows client response, and it creates missed opportunities. So our objectives were framed around outcomes, not technology. We wanted DW Connection to become the place where work starts, not the place where you check when you have extra time. We were not just upgrading SharePoint, we were redefining DW Connection as a centralized productivity platform. We needed a single modern platform that could evolve quickly and support collaboration without the maintenance burden and rigidity of the old environment. SharePoint Online gave us that foundation while simultaneously paving the way to integrate KLST's AI capabilities in a secure, manageable way. We also targeted the biggest bottleneck we saw. People were spending a lot of time assembling context across systems. That is where embedded AI agents fit, not as a replacement for judgment, but as a way to collapse the time it takes to pull together the basics so a user can move immediately to the legal or business decision. This way, users spend less time hunting and more time acting. We then focused on operational clarity. Firm-wide actions like conflicts, audit requests, and similar items need to be presented in a consistent, reliable way. When those experiences vary, they create confusion, delays, and unnecessary escalation. Rebuilding that experience was about standardization and confidence. Finally, we designed for how people actually consume information now. Mobile had to be first class. Unified entry points had to replace hunting across pages. The through line is simple: fewer clicks, fewer handoffs, and faster access to trusted people in matter context. So we had a clear set of outcomes: reduce friction, improve mobile usability, create a single front door to trusted information, and help people get to confident action faster. The next slide is where that translates into concrete design choices we made to make the internet faster, smarter, and easier to use in day-to-day work. When building our new intranet, we treated SharePoint as an extensible and customizable platform, not a collection of pre-made templates. In a law firm, the intranet has to do more than publish news. It has to reduce time to answer for client and matter questions, and has to support processes that directly affect service delivery and revenue. We made search the primary entry point. Instead of forcing people to remember where something lives, we let them start with intent. The guided search approach is important for adoption because it matches how attorneys and staff actually work. They ask a question and need the next action quickly. Then we focus on time to context, not just retrieval. The AI overview is designed to give a user immediate orientation. It helps them understand what they are looking at and what has changed, so they can decide whether they need to go deeper. That matters for management because it improves responsiveness, and it matters for knowledge management because it makes institutional knowledge easier to access. When making decisions about AI models to deploy, we did not limit ourselves to general-purpose open-ended models. We built specialized skills around repeatable workflows where consistency and speed are measurable, like pricing support and onboarding. That is where you get durable ROI and better standardization. Finally, configurable web parts let us deliver local relevance without fragmenting governance. Departments can have pages that feel purpose-built, but we still keep a consistent structure and a manageable support model. Overall, the strategy was to deliver a modern internet experience that is tailored to the firm's realities and centered around the user, while still being scalable and governable. When we say user-centric design for a law firm intranet, we mean something very specific. The goal is not to create a prettier homepage. It's to remove the small obstacles that slow people down every day and to make the intranet feel like it understands what each person is here to do. We started by accepting a basic reality. An attorney, a conflicts professional, a marketing user, and a finance user do not come to the intranet for the same reason. So instead of asking everyone to do the same front door, we designed the experience around personas and audience targeting. That is how you turn the intranet from a broadcast channel into a personalized workspace. A big part of that was shifting from content first to action first. Dickinson Daily is a good example. We treated it like a work queue, so it's structured so users can scan what matters, understand priority at a glance, and close the loop. That is where the visual status cues matter. They reduce cognitive load and they help people move from awareness to completion. At the same time, we had to treat confidentiality as non-negotiable. In a firm environment, smart experiences only build trust if they are predictably safe. So security trimming is baked into how information is retrieved and displayed. Users see what they are entitled to see and nothing else, even when AI is involved. We also focus on expertise discovery because it is one of the most practical ways to improve how the firm operates. If you can find the right person by language, admissions, or niche experience in seconds, that changes staffing speed and client responsiveness. And finally, we designed mobile first so the intranet works wherever the work happens. The experience has to be complete and usable on a phone, not a compromised version. This is what drives sustained engagement. We found early on that modern intranet does not mean one more place people have to go. Adoption comes when the intranet reduces the number of tabs, portals, and handoffs it takes to complete everyday work. So we designed DW Connection to function as a hub that connects the tools our team already relies on, and to do it in a way that feels seamless rather than haphazardly stitched together. A simple example is our Teams integration. In a law firm, so much work is time sensitive. If you need an answer from the right colleague, the difference between guessing, emailing, and waiting versus seeing availability immediately is meaningful. By leveraging Teams, we can display employee availability by linking their status directly to the intranet. It also provides a two-way interface where we can surface functionalities of the intranet to be accessible through a Teams chat. It shortens the loop and it reduces unnecessary interruptions. A more substantive example is the integration with Intap and agentic AI for intake-type workflows. Instead of forcing attorneys to complete a rigid form, we let them provide risk, conflicts, and ethical wall information conversationally. That has two benefits. It removes friction at the point of entry, which increases completion and timeliness. It also improves quality because the system can evaluate what is being entered against historical patterns and prompt for clarifications before submission, which reduces back and forth and lowers the chance of rejection. The third example is geospatial integration on office pages. That might sound small, but for an international firm with offices in multiple states and countries, it is useful for providing immediate context. It helps new hires, visiting attorneys, and cross-office teams understand where people sit and how the firm is physically distributed. It makes the directory and office pages feel more real and more usable. The through line is that integration is not a technical nice to have. It is how we made the intranet the natural starting point for work while still letting the underlying systems remain the systems of record. Now I'm going to come back to the integrations in a few moments. First, I'm going to show some quick screenshots and a brief video of some relatively simple use cases demonstrating the concepts and solutions discussed previously. But after that, I'll share a little bit about what we have coming in the pipeline, which is where I personally think things start to get exciting. So here's an example of KLapper, which is the KLST AI agent we built into the intranet, being used to pull information directly from our staff manual. This is extremely useful for a number of reasons. I mean, I probably don't have to tell you all that the standard search functions on a lot of intranets tend to be less than optimal. Can't tell you how many times in old jobs I've had trouble even locating the staff manual, let alone combing through it to find the right information I needed. With the KLapper-empowered intranet, I can ask any question directly in the search bar, get exactly the answer I need, and most importantly, the answer is grounded in truth with provided citation, so I don't need to trust its answer blindly. I can verify it myself within a few seconds. It is useful for more than just referencing policies, though. KLapper connects to our backend system so can query information directly using a REST API. This allows users to go in and enhance their workflow by looking up important information directly within the intranet. For example, if someone's interested in suggesting we pilot a new AI tool and wants to talk to someone about it, they can look up in the firm who are our data scientists, and they can initiate the conversation by contacting me. It can also be used for looking at matter information as well. Here we showed finding us a list of matters that have been open in the last 90 days. It provides all of the key information on each matter as well as links to view them. And this can be used for more than just seeing what has been open recently. You can see some of the information we redacted, such as total AR and year-to-date billable. Well, you can also use those as search terms and find which matters have the most of either property. And of course, there's the option to look up client data as well. In this example, I gave it kind of an ambiguous query to show its robustness. I asked it to give me client information for a large company that we work with. However, this company is not a singular client. There are other subsidiaries that fall under their umbrella that we also work with. KLapper was able to not only find the client information for the original company, but also pull the information for the relevant other clients, which is particularly helpful if I didn't remember the exact name of the smaller client I was searching for. I'm going to switch over to a recording of a live demo. I'm going to fast forward through this so it doesn't take the whole time. This is showing a capability that I really like, and that it basically allows you to build chatbots directly into your intranet for all kinds of boutique purposes. This is a page that I created in SharePoint that surfaces a bunch of our different AI tools and apps, like, for example, CoCounsel, which is just a link to their website. But also it has a bot that we call the MPE bot that I built for our IP department. So this is a bot that they'd asked me about. The MPEP is the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure. It's a document that they reference a lot and wanted to create an easily accessible bot so they could ask questions and get answers about the manual within the intranet. So here I show how easy it is to create and deploy the bot using KLapper. This is me just creating the bot within the builder itself. It takes a few steps. You just have to define the bot, give it a description. In this case, I'm making a test bot because I'd already created the actual bot that was deployed and is in the website. This is just kind of showing you the process I had to go through. Selected the GPT-4o, which is the model that I had available to me at the time. There's showing it's loading. So this is in the agent settings. You can even customize the way the agent interacts and greets people. So here I have the exclude internet knowledge base field. I'm going to check it in a moment. And so the whole purpose of this is that it's so that when you have a model that faces the internet, what's going on? When you have a model that can potentially face the internet, that could potentially provide some extraneous information that you may not necessarily want included if you've already armed it with a knowledge base. And so by checking that box, you basically lock the model off from being able to go and search the internet, which then grounds its answers only in the knowledge that you give it. And so here I'm showing how easy it is to give it the information that it needs to ground the truth. I just went to the website of the Manual Patent Examining Procedure. They have PDFs for each individual file or each individual chapter. What you can do instead is just download a whole zipped version of it, and uploading the zipped file itself will upload the whole knowledge base to KLapper. So here I am showing the upload process. This is the process that I skipped through and this is why I made the bot originally first, because this is the part of the process that takes the most time. Probably takes a few minutes to 10 minutes, depending on how large the document is. It's basically running OCR, vectorizing it, and storing all the information to make it easily searchable. So once that's done, here I am customizing the introductory message. You can create a variable like the current username so that whenever someone then signs on to the internet, interacts with the bot, it addresses them by name. So to deploy it, then we deploy to SharePoint Online, and it downloads the file that we need. And then we simply go into our SharePoint, add a new page. And once you have like some simple templates set up within your firm, it's really easy to just make a blank page that matches the formatting and everything, so everything looks visually consistent. And yeah, all we have to do here is there's a web part available that KLapper provided us with, and select that. I'll eventually link it to the bot, and then it creates an easy So here are the different bots that I can link it to. I add it to the MPEP bot. And there you go. Now we have the chat window right up there ready to use. So I name the page and then I save and publish it. And go to the page. So I create the link in there. And we'll show you a demo of how the bot works. So now here I am talking with the bot. And this is a number of questions that our IP attorneys gave me that they would normally ask just for testing purposes. So what's really cool about this, and also just a general testament to KLST and their ability and willingness to make changes for their clients as they desire. So in this version right here, I highlighted the citations. It tells me exactly which chapters the information I'm looking for is in the manual patent exam procedures. So one thing after this is I came to the KLST team and asked them, hey, it's really great that it tells us what document it's in. However, if I want to verify that, I still have to open up that document and search through, sometimes 30, 40, 50 pages to find the right information. It'd be really great if it could show us in the document where it is. And so when I originally made this demo, it was 2 days before the first time I had presented this exact demo. And I'd come back to them with that feedback. I think it was overnight or the day of the demo, which is why I don't have it in the recording. They rolled out the feature of being able to click and find the citation. So it was a matter of days that they were able to take my feedback, make the changes that I wanted to make the product that much more usable and trustworthy, in my opinion, because it really cuts down the cognitive load of having to sift through tons of pages, and making it really easy and clickable makes people certain that they're getting the right information. So here's some more questions it's asking it. What's really cool is, so one of the other bots that I have surfaced here, that if we go back to the app page, where is it? You can see there's you can kind of see a NetDocs bot down here. So what's cool about that is you can link the KLapper bot to your NetDocs, and because of the security trimming feature that we talked about, any security permissions will actually be respected within the bot. And so, while I don't necessarily recommend you do this, you can, in theory, have a single chatbot that has access to all of the firm's NetDocs information. And then anytime someone goes and talks to that bot and asks it questions about documents in NetDocs, it'll only surface information relative to the documents that they have access to. So even if you decide to surface all of the NetDocs information in a single chatbot, which again, I don't necessarily recommend doing, there's a lot of customizability that I think you could benefit from by making them more specific. Still, if that mistake is made, the security permissions allow so that no confidentiality is breached or any risky information gets out, which is a really cool feature because it provides just a lot of peace of mind in that if you do something that might risk something, KLST has your back and it's still a safe platform. Let me go ahead and exit that. Oh, hold on. There we go. So now, as I mentioned before, with the integrations, we're doing some really cool things in the pipeline. One of the biggest things is that we're revamping our client intake. Before, what we'd have a form for our attorneys or their assistants to fill out with all the information with new client intake. And oftentimes they'd submit it. There'd be a number of errors. It'd get rejected. It'd go back and forth, all kinds of processes that would make the client intake process take a lot longer than it needed to. We're revamping it by utilizing a lot of connections. And so what we can do is when someone initiates a new client intake, the KLapper bot they'll be able to authorize access to their Outlook. And so the KLapper bot can then do some email scraping and find any communications that they had with the client or with the billing attorney that they had with the client. Grab any relevant information there, whatever information it can't pull out of there, it'll then start a conversation with the user and then ask it questions to understand what it needs to fill out the rest of the information. But it also has different integrations, like we connect to the back end of our pricing matters and client tables so that when an attorney is pitching pricing to the client, they can work with the chatbot to understand, okay, this is what I've priced for similar matters in the past. This is what our fee arrangement allows for, and so that we prevent any rejections from incorrect pricing decisions. We also armed it with a knowledge base where we looked at a history of all of our previous rejections for the last however many years. We had like 13,000 different rejection cases, and fed that to a large language model, distilled it into a number of rules to prevent rejection cases. And so now that once the information is submitted, that bot can then look at all these rejection rules and edit all the information for consistency and clarity, so that when it gets down the pipeline, it's not rejected for small things like spelling or incorrect information, anything of that nature. And so this is still in the works, but overall it's coming along really well. And I think it's going to be really huge to revamp and make our client intake process a whole lot more smooth that way. Our biggest lesson from modernizing DW connection with SharePoint and generative AI is that the AI layer only performs as well as the content beneath it. We treated data quality, permissioning, and ownership as foundational work, not cleanup after launch. We also learned that this is a team sport. The Intranet team has run in lockstep with records, storage, and system owners, so connectors stay reliable as content evolves. On the experience side, we designed for real moments of work and focus on answers people can act on quickly, ideally with clear resources. Finally, relevance drives adoption. So we built it around personas and committed to ongoing tuning based on usage. And finally, the lessons learned, best practices. So to close, our biggest lesson is that this kind of modernization is not exclusively a SharePoint project, nor is it exclusively an AI project. If anything, it is largely a data and workflow project. The most important determinant of whether AI helps or hurts is the quality, reliability, and security of the underlying connections. If the inputs are incomplete, stale, or inconsistent, the experience feels untrustworthy very quickly. That's why the second takeaway is partnerships. The teams who own data, security, and the systems of record have to be involved from the start. When those relationships are strong, you can build integrations that stay reliable over time, and you can evolve the experience without breaking trust. Third, we learned to be ruthless about actionability. People do not need more information. They need the right slice of information that helps them decide what to do next. The AI value is in summarizing, prioritizing, and guiding, not in generating volume. And finally, relevance is what drives engagement. Persona-based design keeps the internet from becoming a generic bulletin board. It ensures the tools feel tailored to the attorney or staff member in front of the screen, which is what makes the investment stick. Finally, a quote you can read over from our Vice President of Operations and Data Strategy, my boss, Renee Morris. Again, someone who's been thrilled to work with KLapper and really pleased to see all the modernization improvements that they have made to the intranet. And with that being said, I'm off for Rob again.
Great job, Jaden. Thank you so much. We are super excited to work with Dickinson Wright and Jaden and Renee's vision on where they see how generative AI will be adopted across the firm, especially as we infuse Gen AI into many different business workflows, both in the practice of law as well as from an operations perspective. Where we are heading with KLapper, in fact, where we are today, is also to surface intelligence wherever attorneys work. And attorneys work within DMS. They work within Outlook. They work within Microsoft Word. So the idea behind KLapper agents is to build these agents within the platform that we ship that actually lives within your Microsoft Azure tenant, private. And you take these agents and you simply deploy them. Like, for example, here it's in iManage Work Web Portal. So if you go to the next slide here, the same agent now deploys right within Microsoft Outlook, where this agent seeded in your data. It's actually learned your data, right? It's learned not just the emails in your inbox, but it's also learned information from iManage or Net Documents. It's also learned information from SharePoint and other data sources, Foundation, and so on and so forth. So when you ask a question, like reply to this email, it not only analyzes the email thread, which by the way, Copilot does a great job, but Copilot is not seeded in your KM data. So when KLapper agent understands and responds to the email, it's seeded in your knowledge management app data. So it's able to understand the data, understand the email thread, and respond to that email in the best contextual answer possible. The same thing applies to a Microsoft Word add-in. If you go to the next slide there, the same concept. When you're reviewing a contract, adding a red line or doing a draft or creating a new contract, the agents that are seeded in your data, in your knowledge management data, when it's reviewing these kind of different clauses and so on, it's able to extract that information. It already kind of understands about your firm, and is able to do a better job at redlining contracts and reviewing contracts or creating contracts. So that's our session today. So if you want to go to the last slide, Jaden, we do have a number of different questions that is coming up in the chat here. We'll just leave our contact details in the next slide so that you guys can contact us if you have any questions. There's one question I do want to take up, which came up in the chat, which is, basically to say, does it prompt you with other possible questions you might want answered in the bot? Yes. So you have the ability to control the prompt flow within KLapper. So you can easily define your own prompts within a centralized prompt library, as well as control what prompt gets exposed to which user, so you can control that process as well. There are other questions in the chat. Unfortunately, we're out of time here. What we will do is kind of get all the questions together. As a post-webinar follow-up, we'll share the recording of the session, as well as a copy of this presentation and the answers to the questions. Thank you so much, Jaden, for your time here. We truly appreciate you and all the team at Dickinson Wright. Thanks for participating in this webinar. Thanks to everybody for joining in this webinar. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.